get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hopefully you guys are off to a phenomenal Friday. If you guys are tuning in on Saturday, hopefully you guys are having a great Saturday as well. All right, with that being said, though, I'm going to make sure we have audio going now. We are good to go. So we got some stuff to get into on today's show. It's going to be a little bit longer show today because we have fight previews of a massive fight going down in the UK. Obviously, that is Eubank Jr, Conor Benn, the rematch. Breaking down that entire card for you guys on today's show, as well as the card that, is Top Rank is kind of sort of supporting, putting together, and that is the Rafael Espinoza Khegai card. That's also going to be broken down on the show as well. But before we go into all that, I'm also going to get into some boxing news. I think we all know what's happened. It's a heavyweight situation. Joseph Parker tested positive for drugs in the system, and that drug is cocaine. So we're going to be getting into that discussion as well. But as always, make sure to hit the thumbs up if you guys are tuning in on YouTube. I always appreciate that. That helps with the show growth a lot. And if you guys are tuning in on whatever platform, whether that be X or YouTube, make sure to keep the chat active. I will be spending time today answering each and every single one of you guys' questions in the chat today. Your comments will pop up on the screen, and we'll address them and go from there. So let's get right to it, though. I'm going to kick it off with boxing news. Now, the whole focal point of the show was supposed to be a fight preview directed towards Eubank and Benn in that great card. But, well, we had some big news that came out over this night, or I guess about 12, 13 hours ago. And I'm going to kick the show off with that. And that is Joseph Parker has reportedly tested positive for cocaine in a drug test taken the day of his defeat to Fabio Wardley. Two sources close to Team Parker have conveyed the dismay to the ring at the findings, for which he had the opportunity to have his B sample tested. Parker could now face a ban from boxing. Other information that was provided by Mike Coppinger says this: cocaine is water soluble, eliminated when one urinates and sweats. The only way it stays in the system around 48 hours. It can be longer with heavy use, but casual use usually 48 hours and 3 days max. I'm baffled. Anyone that saw my tweet up on X saw what I said when it came out. Out of everybody in the heavyweight division, I never expected Joseph Parker to be the one that would be involved with this. And to be honest, now I know there's some reports came out. He was involved in a drug-based situation a couple years back. That's something that obviously kind of raises a lot more red flags now. On top of that, the way he acts sometimes, I guess you could maybe throw that in there as well. But yes, Joseph Parker failed his drug test. He reportedly, if these samples are correct, and we'll see what the B sample says, it is that Joseph Parker had cocaine in his system when he got knocked out by Fabio Wardley. Shocked. I'm honestly baffled by this. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect to see this report come through. Never thought there was going to be an issue, and it's just shocking. You talk about Joseph Parker. Roughly 1 month ago, Joseph Parker was most deserving of a world championship shot. One of the most beloved men in all of boxing, specifically in the heavyweight division. Hard up to root for this guy. He gave us an absolute war against Fabio Wardley, lost his chance at the world championship because he lost to Fabio Wardley, got KO'd in that situation, and now we find out that he fought this fight with cocaine in his system. And let me make this very clear. I want, first and foremost, that if this is true and he has a problem with cocaine, we need to keep him in our prayers because this is something that's a very tough battle to overcome. But let's be honest. This is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard if this comes to be true. You're saying that you took cocaine within 48 hours of fighting Fabio Wardley. You have a shot at Alexander Usyk, the dream fight you've been wanting for so long, and you decide that now is the time to go and do cocaine. One of the dumbest decisions you could ever think of. Why would you even risk that opportunity? If you're Joseph Parker, you have one of the biggest opportunities of your lifetime. You never had to take the Fabio Wardley fight to begin with. You did, and all you had to do was beat Fabio Wardley, and you decided to go and do some cocaine. Baffling to me. This is not the guy I ever expected to come out and do this to begin with, but then on top of that, you're going to risk everything you built yourself back up for. The Deontay Wilder upset, the Zhilei Zhang fight, obviously, you go out there and you end up defeating and not KOing Martin Bakole. You do all this work just for yourself to go and get in a self-position where you're going to fight Fabio Wardley and you're going to do cocaine? Why would you do all this hard work just to go blow it in this moment? Now, who knows? Did the cocaine help him or hurt him in the fight? I don't know. But if you're this big of a fight, you should be locked in on what the mission is. And spending time doing cocaine, obviously your mind's just not in the right place. And so it's baffling to me. Now, yes, we have to wait for the B sample to come in. I don't know what that B sample is going to read. But what we do know right now is that the A sample came in and he did cocaine. This is not a performance enhancement. This is why it's so stupid. There is no benefit you're going to have for doing cocaine and fighting in a boxing ring. None. This is not a performance enhancement. This is just stupidity at its finest. And it's shocking to me. Why would you risk everything for this? And that's why I want to come to this point and say this. If it is true that Joseph Parker did in fact take cocaine within 48 hours of this fight against Fabio Wardley, then he probably has legitimate situation and issues now, I should say, with cocaine, which is hard to hear and sad to hear. Because listen, if anybody has the right mind, you're not going to do cocaine, well, at any point in your life, let's make that clear, but you're not going to do cocaine before the biggest fight of your life. You're just not. There's no rationale to go out there and do cocaine before you fight Fabio Wardley. If you had a rationale and you didn't have a problem with cocaine and drugs, then you're not going to put yourself in that position. Now, you should never do it to begin with, but if you're going to do it, you're not doing it at that point in time. And so the entire situation right now is just baffling. I never expected to see that situation come unfold. I never expected to see the report, and it's just heartbreaking. And that's why I want to really emphasize this. I hope he's okay. Because let's look at this. Boxing, there's so many things bigger than boxing, right? Life is much bigger than boxing in and of itself. And so when we're looking at it from a life perspective of Joseph Parker, if this is true, I hope he gets the help that he needs. Overcoming any kind of a drug addiction or drug issue is not easy. I know many people obviously talk about this. This is an addiction problem, and it is very, very tough to overcome. And so first and foremost, beyond boxing, because yes, his career might just be over now. Beyond boxing, though, I hope he gets help. I hope he can get overcome this, and I hope this is not a problem that continues to progress in his life. It's bigger than boxing. The odds are quite high that if this is true, he's going to be out of boxing for possibly a year or more, and on top of that, he could just be banned from boxing, period. So he needs to get his life right. And now we will see what happens with the B result, and B sample, I should say, and hopefully it proves us all wrong, but man, just heartbreaking news right there. And I hope Joseph Parker gets the help that he needs, because now this man went from who was deemed to be the next shot at Alexander Usyk, a man that deserved that world championship shot, a guy that should have had it in February 22nd against Daniel Dubois, is now lost, didn't have the opportunity anymore, and he could not be banned from boxing. That is one of the most tragic stories you could really discuss in all boxing in terms of the way your life has changed in just about 3 or 4 weeks. So I hope he's going to be okay. But yes, that is the news that we have for Joseph Parker, who is now tested positive for cocaine being in his system in his Veda test just days before he fought Fabio Wardley. Baffling news. Other boxing news before we get into the fight preview is this. The WBO interim title fight between champion Callum Smith and mandatory challenger David Morrell will head to purse bids because the parties could not reach an agreement in time. I'm not really worried about the situation. I think this fight's going to happen. It makes too much sense to talk about light heavyweight. There's so much talent in this weight class, but specifically on the top level groups, both these guys need to have this fight happen. It's not a big deal. It's going to get solved. They're going to fight each other. Don't stress about it. I'm not worried about it. I think we're going to get the fight in 2026. Let them go reach an agreement, go to purse bids. It's all going to be okay. I'm not worried about this fight not happening. I think it will happen. Don't worry about that. All right, let's go into the boxing fight preview for this weekend. Obviously, we're going to kick it off with what matters biggest, the most important fight card of this weekend, and that is Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. First of all, though, let me hear your guys' thoughts in the chat. Who do you guys have in the big rematch? Do you guys have Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn? Let me know that. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. I'm going to kick off this preview, though, by going in order of the card. There is one card I'm not going to go in depth on. Mike Talion will be fighting Fizan Shahid, flyweight fight. That's going to be going down on the card as well. But I'm going to kick it off with this one. Sam Gilley, Ishmael Davis, super welterweight fight going down for the British and Commonwealth titles will both be on the line here. Now, anyone that's been tuning into this show, you guys have the opportunity to go listen to what Ishmael Davis and Sam Gilley have said about leading up to this fight. Both guys have been on the show recently, so you guys can go check out those interviews. They break down this fight. They break down life, all those different types of things. Go check it out on my YouTube channel. But they're now doing the big fight. British and Commonwealth belts are on the line for 154-pound division. Sam Gilley, 18-1-1 with 9 KOs, orthodox style fighter, 6 foot, and he's the age of 31. Now, for Sam Gilley, he is a man who is a very accomplished fighter, solid fighter, but he was supposed to have a little bit of a tune-up fight in his previous fight. That did not go according to plan. He ends up having a draw against somebody who he should have demolished in that fight. Now, he talked about in the interview, there was a lot of situations going on. He was not mentally right, so on and so forth, but that's something we have to look at. He did not look good whatsoever in his previous fight. For Ishmael Davis, interesting news. He is 14-3, 6 KOs. Now, I talked about this last week. Ishmael Davis, he actually had another fight in between them because to go compete for the British title, you must have a win in your most recent fight. So Ishmael Davis did a tune-up fight a couple of weeks ago. I don't know where it was at or it wasn't broadcasted, but he did a quick little fight just to get that win in the win column. So he's not actually on the 3-fight losing streak. But none other, Ishmael Davis now heads in this fight 14-3. Here's an interesting thing. Gilley is very patient, technical boxer. He's sharp with his jab, solid defense, and he's fighting in his hometown. While Ishmael Davis, the Black Panther, he is slick, athletic. He likes to go to war just like Sam Gilley does. Fast hands and great footwork. He's coming off of a very narrow loss in his previous fight to the little quick tune-up one to Khegai Aguiarco. So when we look at this fight right here, we are talking about two guys that I think will go to war. Sam Gilley promised it was going to be a war, that these two guys actually went out there and they called each other when the fight got made and said, hey, we're going to give them a fight that could possibly steal the show. Direct quote from Sam Gilley when he's on the show. This is going to be one of the best fights on the card. I truly do believe this. When you talk about Ishmael Davis, a lot of people will throw his name around there and say, okay, it's Ishmael Davis. He's lost 3 of his fights against other top-level competition. Why are we going to expect anything different in this fight? Well, let me tell you guys this. Ishmael Davis is still a great fighter. He's lost on short notice to 2 of them, and the other one against Khegai Aguiarco, you could make a debate he possibly won that fight. It really came down right to the wire. I'm very high on Ishmael Davis. I love the way he fights. I think he's one of the most entertaining fights, and that's why he keeps getting placed in big opportunities. He is a fun fighter to watch. Very, very talented. So is Sam Gilley. So who do I win in this fight? It's going to be difficult. I think it's very near a 50-50 type fight in this situation. But if I were to give my prediction, and I do have Ishmael Davis coming out here with the win. Now, I love Sam Gilley. I like Ishmael Davis. Both guys, like I said, have been on the show before. When we talk about Ishmael Davis, this is a man who has fought the best recently. He has fought some top-level competition, and he's gone to war in each and every single one of those. And Sam Gilley is very good, but he's not probably as good as those top 3 guys he's fought most recently. Debatably, but he's probably not in that category. When you talk about Ishmael Davis, you have to realize something. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I always go out here and I'm very vocal. If a boxer loses a fight, so be it. If it is to good competition, then making good fights happen, and they were competitive. All those answers have been already answered by Ishmael Davis. He's fought some of the best guys in the weight class. So be it. That's what you're supposed to do in boxing. Test yourself, push yourself, and see where you're at. Ishmael Davis has done just that. So yes, he has more losses on his resume, but for Ishmael Davis, I think he's going to come out here. He's going to be victorious. He's going to do his job against Sam Gilley. I think he will be victorious. I think he will hold the British and Commonwealth titles. But as I said, this is a 50-50 type fight. Sam Gilley has equally as good of odds of winning this fight. He is a very good fighter as well. Let's head over to this one. Richard Riakporhe fighting Tommy Welch at the heavyweight division. Richard Riakporhe, he's 18-1, 14 KOs, orthodox, standing at 6'5" and 77-inch reach. He's 35 years old, while Tommy Welch is 16-0, never lost, with 9 KOs, orthodox, 6'3", and age of 30. All right, I could break this fight down. Obviously, Richard Riakporhe, he fought the cruiserweight division for a long time. Great power and range. He's now up into heavyweight. He's been outside the ring for roughly 6 months. Welch, he's unbeaten, but he's not been tested against anybody near the level of Richard Riakporhe. And I'm not saying Richard Riakporhe is some elite fighter. I'm just saying he's never really stepped foot in the ring with somebody that's a legitimate, challenger contender, if you will. And so in this fight, I think we're going to get an easy opportunity for Richard Riakporhe to go out there, get an easy KO, early rounds. He's going to expose Welch's defensive gaps. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Tommy Welch has got something that none of us have ever seen before. Maybe this guy can compete with some of the top guys. We will see. But if I had to give him my opinion, I have Richard Riakporhe coming out victorious in this fight. This is one that I am ecstatic for. Adam Azim, Kurt Scoby, super lightweight fight. Remember, this fight was supposed to fight, or Adam Azim was supposed to fight Raul Abdullaev. That fight came, well, I don't really want to say it fell apart. It just never really happened, and they announced it. Weird story there. But Adam Azim is now fighting Kurt Scoby. And I think this is a much, much bigger and better fight, in my opinion. Listen, anybody that saw Kurt Scoby go out there on the face-off with Adam Azim saw he's bringing the energy, the intensity. He is going to make this fight much bigger. This is going to be a very interesting fight. Adam Azim is somebody that has been mismanaged for the past year. This man should be far more advanced in his career than where he's currently at. I think Boxer has done an atrocious job with him. But here it is. Adam Azim finally gets a great opportunity. It's a man who I think is very underrated in boxing right now, Kurt Scoby. This is a man who fought recently, so do remember that and keep that in mind. It's not necessarily just a short notice fight. Now, it still is, but he still is at least in shape before this fight happens. But for Kurt Scoby, he has a chance to pull off a massive, massive upset. Listen, if Scoby goes out there and he pulls off a stunning upset of Adam Azim, this man's stock will skyrocket. He's already trending in the right direction. He's already boosted his stock up a lot in the past 18 or so months. If he pulls off the win against the young, promising Adam Azim, all of a sudden, we're going to look at Scoby. This is a man who would be top 10 ranked probably in at least a couple of commissioning bodies, and a guy who has other big fights lined up for himself. Now, either way, I think this fight will be competitive. To give you guys a breakdown, Adam Azim is 13-0, 10 KOs, orthodox style, 5'10", 70-inch reach. He's 23 years old in his age as well, with a 77% KO ratio. Here's Scoby though. 18-1, 16 KOs, orthodox, 5'9". He's 30 years old with 88% KO ratio. Now, competition does vary, certainly, but just in terms of styles here, Adam Azim is a guy that doesn't have as much power, per se, as Scoby does. Scoby is going to be a guy that likes to go to war and goes for the knockout. That's what he's done throughout his entire career, and that's what I expect to see have happen in the fight tomorrow. Adam Azim, the assassin, he's fast, flashy, and fights with confidence. He's coming off the dominant TKO of Sergey Lipinets. While Scoby, he's rugged, high pressure, high octane with serious power. This is going to be, in my opinion, Adam Azim's most dangerous opponent to this point in time. And here's what's interesting. Scoby has no ring rust. Adam Azim probably will have some ring rust to a certain extent. Now, on the flip side of that, obviously Adam Azim's had a full camp, but at the same time, it's been against preparing for somebody else, not Scoby. Scoby, he's coming off a victory. He's in shape, but he has not been preparing for Adam Azim or anyone anywhere near the caliber of Adam Azim. So both guys are at a disadvantage in some way, shape, or form heading into this fight, which is what makes it interesting. Here's who I do predict to win this fight, though. I think Adam Azim will get the late stoppage. Now, I'm a little bit hesitant to say this because I think Scoby could pull off the upset, but I like Adam Azim. I think this man is the truth. I think he's a very good young fighter, and I think that he is going to have a late KO stoppage. Scoby's power is real. He might even hurt him a couple times, but Azim's speed and precision should carry him through to the later rounds, and in those later rounds, I think he will break down Scoby and emerge victorious with a KO. Here's the co-main event. Jack Catterall, Ekow Essuman, welterweight showdown. This fight is going to be massive. I love this fight right here. I think this might... No, nothing's going to top the main event. But this fight right here is going to be phenomenal. Jack Catterall, he is 31-2, 13 KOs, southpaw fighter, 5'7", 68-inch reach, 32 years old with a 42% KO ratio, while Ekow Essuman is 22-1, 8 KOs, orthodox, 5'10", 70-inch reach. He's 36 years old with 36% KO power ratio. My apologies. Both guys I have talked to before. Ekow Essuman's been on the show previously. And let's be honest, Ekow Essuman's coming off of a career-altering win. He was supposed to go out there and be easy work for Josh Taylor. Ends up being a story where Ekow Essuman does this work on Josh Taylor, upsets him, and actually ends up retiring the man. And this is a man that goes by the engine for a reason. He never backs down. Key to note here, it's not about the first 1, 2, or 3 rounds for Ekow Essuman. This is a man that's going to be a problem for all 12 rounds unless you find a way to get him out of there. So that's going to be something to watch for Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall, on the other hand, he is a very good defensive fighter. Now, a lot of fans will say this man's boring to watch. And to that, I will say, sure. But for Jack Catterall, his defense is there. His biggest issue has been offense, has been utilizing ways to go after and be on the attack at times. He's never really had that in his arsenal. Here's why I'm so excited for this fight. Jack Catterall moved stateside to the United States of America. He's in Philadelphia with Bozy Ennis, obviously the Boots Ennis camp. He's been working with Boots. He's been working with Bozy on this exact thing I just talked about. When he made this transition, I was very bold and I said, listen, for Jack Catterall, this is going to be the move that changes your career. It was a gamble. It was a risk to take, but I think it's the one that is best for his career, and I think we're going to see him get rewarded for the decision he made tomorrow night. Now, this is going to be a very tough battle. Don't get me wrong. Ekow Essuman does not go away. He keeps coming at guys all fight long. Never, ever backs down. For Jack Catterall, if he can kind of eliminate the power or the presence, I should say, of Ekow Essuman, which I think he's capable of. His defense is elite. And he mixes into his arsenal that ability to be on the attack at times, which I think Bozy Ennis is going to help him out with. I think that we're going to see a situation unfold here where Jack Catterall will emerge victorious in this fight. Listen, Jack Catterall is a very good technician. Great footwork, timing, great defense, all these different aspects. He's obviously rebounding from his controversial loss to Barboza. And then he had the technical win with Harlem Eubank, which was a uninspiring fight. Well, Essuman, he's obviously, I said, a great pressure fighter, granite chin, relentless pace, and he's going to look to bounce back after losing the British Commonwealth titles a few years back. Now, I think Kyle is going to win. This fight will go to decision in my eyes. I don't think either guy's going to get a KO. Listen, the numbers are this: 42% for Catterall, 36% KO ratio for Ekow Essuman. Don't expect a KO. This fight's going to go 12 rounds here, but I do expect it to be a close decision in favor of Jack Catterall. I think his ring IQ, his movement, and hopefully the addition of what Bozy Ennis brings to the table is all going to factor into helping Catterall win this fight by close decision. Let's head over to the main event. Here we go. Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. This fight is, in my opinion, the fight of the year from the very first one. Chris Eubank Jr. said in the press conference that, or maybe it was after today's weigh-in, but anyway, Chris Eubank Jr. said, listen, last fight was the fight of the year. This is going to be the fight of the decade. Now, these guys always say words to try boosting the stock of a fight up, but he might not be wrong here. A lot of factors are in play. Here's number one. Chris Eubank Jr., he is 34-3 in his career, 25 KOs, orthodox, 5'11", 72-inch reach, and 35 years of age. Well, he has a 74% KO ratio. On the flip side, Conor Benn is 23-1 with 14 KOs, also is an orthodox fighter, 5'8", 68-inch reach, and 28 years old with 61% KO ratio. Here's what makes this fight different. For both guys, they now know what the other is capable of. For Chris Eubank Jr., this is a man who, in his last fight, was struggling to make weight. We knew the weight was going to be an impact because of the rehydration clause in play and all those different aspects. Today was different, and I'm baffled by this, but Chris Eubank Jr. found a way to actually come in lighter than Conor Benn, which was shocking to me. Absolutely shocking to me. But he did just that, made the weight. Now he doesn't have to pay a massive fine to Conor Benn. For Conor Benn's standpoint, this is a man who has now been at this weight now for roughly a year. It's not going to be the massive transition that Conor Benn had to make earlier in this year when he had to go and all of a sudden fight for the first time at 160. Conor Benn's going to have much better understanding. Conor Benn also is knowing exactly what Chris Eubank Jr. can do. And for Chris Eubank Jr., he's also bringing in Bomac, obviously Terrence Bud Crawford's trainer. That is going to be huge for him. Now, I never thought he needed to make a transition, but if you're going to go back to Bomac, I have no problem with that. I think there's a very good debate that Bomac is one of, if not the best trainer in all boxing today. So, of course, Eubank Jr. has the edge in size, experience, and durability, and obviously had the dominant great win earlier this year against none other than Conor Benn. For Conor Benn, he is explosive, aggressive, but he is, once again, he is moving up 2 weight classes. This is not his natural weight, and I don't know how well his power will continue to carry over because, obviously, since PED bit Conor Benn, we haven't seen the KOs like he once had. And on top of that, we didn't see the KO against Chris Eubank Jr. Now, he did damage on Chris Eubank Jr., a lot of damage, but it was a war. And so it makes this fight very interesting right here. And that's why I will say this. Out of both guys, in the rematch, I do still favor Chris Eubank Jr. Listen, Conor Benn, I think, is going to bring it. I think, and we saw the betting odds right now, tons of bets are flying in for Conor Benn right now. This seems to be the guy that's shifting a lot of things right now for some reason. And I wouldn't be shocked. I think Conor Benn has a legitimate chance of winning this fight. Last time around, I thought this fight was going to be an easy KO demolition job from Chris Eubank Jr. Far from that. It turned out being the fight of the year. I think that Conor Benn proved us all wrong the first time, and he could very well do it again. But it's hard for me to stand here right now and say that I think he's going to defeat Chris Eubank Jr. I think his jab, his timing, his size, all these things will neutralize Conor Benn's power, his burst, and will once again prevail and give Chris Eubank Jr. the win. What's your guys' thoughts? So let me know in the chat. Who do you guys have winning this fight that goes down tomorrow in the UK between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn? Other news from Chris Eubank Jr. is this. Eubank Jr. has revealed that he's not considering retirement and he's planning major fights in 2026. Eubank stated that he's been financially free for years. However, he still wants fights as boxing is his passion. Very interesting news right there. And listen, I think 2 things are on the table. If Conor Benn pulls off the upset and wins tomorrow, obviously you're going to have a Trojan most likely. If that does not happen, Chris Eubank Jr. confidently wins this fight, I think we're going to look at something interesting. Can I just throw it out there? I'm going to throw it out there. I do think that when he returns to the ring next time, I think he's going to square off in that ring with a man that goes by the name, Canelo Alvarez. The man that's obviously from Mexico coming off of a loss against Terrence Bud Crawford. Yes, I do believe Then 2026 is a very good chance we see Chris Eubank Jr. face off with Canelo Alvarez in the ring. Canelo's always said he would love to fight in the UK. And who else would you do it against other than against a man like Chris Eubank Jr.? Now, Hamza Shiraz, throw him in the mix. Sure, that would make sense. But I think it's a much bigger fight, Eubank Jr. versus Canelo, than it would be a Hamza Shiraz Canelo fight. So I do think when he's saying big fights lined up for next year, that's the fight he's likely targeting, but we'll see what happens. Lots of opportunities for Chris Eubank Jr., including maybe even Terrence Bud Crawford, which I don't think will happen, but it's in the mix there. So lots of big fights could happen, but the truth is this, or the fact is this, Chris Eubank Jr. is not planning on retiring anytime soon. Let's head over to what's going down in Mexico tomorrow. The homecoming of Rafael Espinoza as he fights Arnold Khegai. 12-round fight for Espinoza's WBO featherweight title. This fight's going to be interesting. Not in the fact that, well, maybe it's not interesting, but for Rafael Espinoza, he's fighting a man who he should demolish. Rafael Espinoza is a man that is very, very talented. I have him in my pound-for-pound tiers list. We're on the back end of it, though, but very good fighter, very tricky fighter as well at 126, being such a freakishly tall man for that weight class. Rafael Espinoza is fighting a man who he should demolish, though. It should not be a competitive fight. It should not go 12 rounds. He should do a demolition job on this man. But here's the deal. We saw it last year right around this time. Jaime Munguia now was not a world champion, but he had a homecoming fight in Mexico. Didn't go so well when he fought Bruno Saras. And I just hope this doesn't go the same way because there's reports coming out that Rafael Espinoza and Angelo Leo both win their upcoming fights. Leo will be fighting in February. Espinoza obviously fighting this weekend. That they could come together for a unification fight in 2026. A fight that I think we all would love to see have happen. So we'll see what happens here. But yes, Rafael Espinoza, no need to break it down. We know who he is. And I think he's going to do a demolition job on Arnold Khegai. Co-main event is very interesting, though. Emiliano Vargas fighting Jonathan Montrel, 10-round junior welterweight fight. Not a great fight, but a fight nonetheless. Obviously, these top-ranked guys need to stay active, stay busy, get fights underneath their belt. This is what Emiliano Vargas is going to be doing. I think it's going to be an easy win for him once again. Maybe we even see a lightning quick knockout once again. I think that would be something to see. Continue to build a stock. I think next year will be the calendar year that when Top Rank gets the TV deal in place, Emiliano Vargas will continue to build his name up, and he will start to emerge as one of those top players in his weight class. Lindolfo Delgado, he's returning to the ring against Gabriel Gollaz Valenzuela. 12-round fight for the IBF Junior Welterweight World Title Eliminator. Very intriguing fight right here. I'm going to give the favor odds to Delgado. I think Delgado is going to have him here, but this is a 50-50 type fight and a fight to certainly keep an eye on. I think when you talk about the IBF Junior Welterweight World Title Eliminator, this is going to have big implications on who gets a big fight in calendar year of 2026. So keep an eye on this one. Very good one. And then Richard Torrez Jr., he returns to the ring against Tomas Salek, a 10-round heavyweight fight. Torrez Jr. fought earlier this year. Now, how long ago was that? Let me pull it up to be specific with you guys. I want to say, when was the Gallardo Venezuela fight? That was in April, right around. That's why I thought I was going to be around. So he's been outside of the ring for a little bit of time now. Obviously, large portion of that had to do with the top rank situation. But yes, Richard Torrez Jr. will be returning to the ring. He will be fighting at the heavyweight fight. And for Americans, we got to watch this man. We don't have a lot of heavyweights going on right now. All of our guys are old and washed up, or young guys. Jared Anderson is, I don't know where that man is. This man at least is fighting. Then you have Joshua Edwards. It's very, very bleak and not very good at heavyweight division for Americans right now. Torrez Jr. is one of the only guys holding things down to a certain extent. So hopefully he does his job. Should have an easy win here as he continues to build himself up for what should be a big 2026 for Richard Torrez Jr. So that is what we got in store for the Espinoza Khegai card. And I already got into all the boxing news, and I don't see any more comments in the comment section. So with that being said, though, I hope you guys have a phenomenal rest of you guys Friday and weekend. May God bless you guys all. Enjoy the fights. Stacked weekend, and especially if you guys like all combat sports, you got UFC going down in Madison Square Garden tomorrow as well. Big, big card there with Islam Makhachev and JDM. So make sure to go check out and enjoy the weekend. Enjoy time with the family. Enjoy life. Go to church on Sunday as well. But may God bless you guys all. Have a phenomenal weekend. I will see you guys back live on Monday. God bless you guys all. With that being said, SchuZ out. God bless y'all.